You know, I saw a video of myself from 3 years ago, and I can't begin to describe to you how much I have aged in 3 years thanks to this administration. I struggle to look at myself now in the video and in mirrors. So this is a very quick, because everything you do here is fast. This is going to be a very quick examination of Ghislaine Maxwell's chart. So there's a whole podcast slash written version of this on the blogger page, and also in Anchor FM if you want to stream it and listen to it. And specifically, it talks about the transits for the arrest, and some of the amazing things that pop up when you start looking at this. So it's good stuff. So if you're trying to learn astrology, like actually learn it, this is a really good opportunity to kind of watch astrology in action. Now, this video is because I've spent all day typing out that two full-length posts about Ghislaine and her arrest and all sorts of stuff, and my eyes are crossing, so I can't type anymore. But I did want to do a little bit of character analysis and kind of cover the astrology of Ghislaine Maxwell, because there are a lot of broad assumptions about what astrology will and won't tell you. So let's straighten some of that out now. So Ghislaine Maxwell is a Capricorn with a Leo moon and Gemini rising. And again, the chart ruler makes all the difference in the world. Ghislaine's chart ruler is Mercury in Capricorn. Now, things to understand about this. With Gemini rising, you're going to get somebody who's very light in step, very youthful, very free-spirited. They're really good with the social graces. They love social interaction. They love the meeting of the minds. They do not like soggy, boggy, emotional, wet blanket type personalities or experiences. It's not their thing. They're not good with it, and it just doesn't do anything for them. So they tend to avoid those types of situations and people. With her Mercury in Capricorn as her chart ruler, and it's in the 7th house, this does a couple of things. One, it's going to make her more business minded. So when we think business, typically everybody thinks of commerce and trade as business. But really, when we say business minded, especially with astrology, what we're really saying is this is somebody who's very goal oriented, and who's very, in this particular case, because it's Capricorn, very pragmatic. So everything has to serve a purpose and have some type of relative value for them to bother with it. So with Gemini rising, which is very good about moving up and down the social strata, they'll have friends in very high and very low places. The one thing with Mercury and Capricorn as the chart ruler that will be consistent is that everybody will have something to offer her socially. So this is where we see the politician side of Capricorn come out, and it's very much in action in her nature. So she will talk to anybody, and she'll get involved with anyone, briefly or for the long term, as long as they serve a useful purpose. So there's a lot of that going on, which is kind of interesting. She's a very shrewd. She's a very shrewd. I don't want to say opportunist, but very shrewd awareness of other people. She'd make a phenomenal salesperson. Phenomenal, because she really has this ability to kind of zero in on where people are weak or vulnerable. It sounds so predatory. But no, like being able to zone in on where they're weak or vulnerable, and also being able to suss out what they have of any relative value to her, if they have it, or if they're just blowing, smoke up her ass. So she's an interesting character. Now the other thing with this is that she's got that chart ruler with the Sun and with Mars all in the 7th house, along with Venus. And Venus is near the 7th house cusp. So the thing about it is, with this loaded 7th house, this gives her slightly codependent personality presentations. She does better in relationships with other people, as partners with other people. She does not do well. She does not do well operating by herself. She doesn't like being alone. She doesn't like being by herself. She doesn't like having to do things alone. She likes being around people, and she likes being part of a partnership. She's also, which is funny because she's incredibly bossy. So she tends to lead from behind. So she needs someone to partner with who is strong in her own right, because she doesn't want to have to be responsible for anything. But at the same time, once she's in a relationship, she tends to be very bossy and managerial from behind. So this is an interesting This is an interesting observation and thing to remember, because remember, when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, one of the things that's going to happen now that she's been arrested, she's going to play the victim card. Oh, poor me. He forced me into it. I couldn't leave. I was terrified of him, whatever. I mean, listen, if it were any one of us in her position right now facing life in prison for sex crimes against youth, like, we'd all be singing like canaries too, or like really making it look like we just couldn't help ourselves. But, they were held at gunpoint. Because, dude, federal prison with a bunch of women who really were abused as kids, you don't want to be the woman that facilitated this for a man, an adult man, when this woman was a kid. Gender traitors are not dealt with kindly in prison, because there's a whole lot of broken women in prison, and that's a large part of why they're there. Whew. I would not want to be her. So anyway, we know that this is the way she's going to go, because this makes complete sense. Now, the thing that's important to understand about this is one bossy bitch. Excuse my language. This is literally one bossy bitch. So she is all about being the power behind the thrones. Like, don't you kid yourself. No matter what situation she ends up in, she's the one who's masterminded this, right? Sun, Mars, Mercury, all in Capricorn. Honey, please, nobody's leading her anywhere she doesn't want to go. In fact, she's going to lead you from behind and let you think it's all your idea before this is over. So there's that. Because she doesn't want to take responsibility. She wants somebody else to execute the decisions and take responsibility. But at the end of the day, she's the one navigating the ship. So it will be interesting to see how this all shakes out before it's over. Now, she does have the moon in Leo, and it is trining the Venus in Sagittarius, which are both angular. And with Gemini rising, this makes her quite the party girl. She loves a good time. She loves the chase. She loves a party. She's the perpetual effervescent teenager. And she's very, very good about being the hostess with the mostess. So there's a lot of that. She's all about where the action, the adventure, and the party is. And again, teenagers, she doesn't want to actually be responsible for stuff. So there's a lot of that. Now, she does have Jupiter conjunct or close to conjunct the midheaven at the top of this chart. So Jupiter near the midheaven, typically in people's charts, they experience, my understanding is, that their real wealth and solvency, financial solvency, doesn't occur until midlife. So listen, she's a trust fund baby. She had plenty of money before this, but I'm not convinced that she didn't spend a lot of it, and a lot of her interest in Jeffrey had to do with being able to spend his money instead of hers, because her money is a limited resource. His, on the other hand, so I don't have that kind of money, and I don't date men with that kind of money yet. I'm working on it. So I'm not completely sure how this works, but I have seen it in some of my, and some of the people I have come across in my lifetime, siblings of boyfriends, and just, anyway, so Jupiter, on or near the midheaven, like midlife, is a big turning point for them, especially when it comes to their influence, their power, their material wealth, and getting it together. So good news for you folks who are not 50 yet and are still struggling to figure out what the hell you're going to do with yourself in your life. And oh my God, is this it? Am I going to be poor forever? Hang in there. Apparently, with Jupiter on the midheaven, it comes after 50. Okay, now some interesting things that did come up with her chart. Is that she has Neptune, depending on what time she was born. So there's a whole thing in the podcast and in the blogger, which is the written version of the podcast, that talks about this. And her recorded time, because she was born at home, her recorded time of birth may be off by a couple minutes because she was born at home. I was born at home too, so you can never really be completely sure the time was actually atomic clock accurate. And I did the rectification based on the arrest and some other things that were happening, and my rectified time is only about 3 degrees off of the recorded time. So I think that's pretty good. I'm patting myself on the back here. But that also means that Neptune slides around a little bit. So Neptune's either in the fifth house, conjuncting the sixth house cusp, or it's in the sixth. So, and there's a big discussion about why that matters in the chart. So, and I'm going to save that surprise for you later. So, other things. Now, she has a loaded third house. She's got the moon, north node, Uranus, and Pluto, all heavily, securely in the third house. This means that she is absolutely a bit of a social gadfly, the meeting of the minds, man on the street, what's going on. She's always up to what's going on around her. And the third house represents the need to be present in the here and now. And with the third house, you typically get people who are either on the phone constantly or on their computers constantly or both at the same time. And or invested in conversations and gossip with everyone around them because they're the men on the street, here and now, be here and now, Ram Dass sort of stuff. They want to know everything all at once as it's happening in now time. So this is hers as well. Now, she's got all those Capricorn planets trining that Uranus and Pluto down in that third house near that fourth house cusp. So this also is going to give her a lot of ability to navigate social relationships deftly or adeptly, right, gracefully, and to her advantage. So a lot of wealth and position and status and power and influence that she has in life is going to come through her associations with people. So her greatest, she would have made a phenomenal salesperson. But I guess when you have that much money, like, what do you do for a living, right? So why would you sell for other people when you could sell for yourself? Now, Moon in Leo, perpetual teenager, Venus in Sagittarius. She's idealistic, she's romantic, she's in love with love, but mostly she's in love with the chase, which also could indicate why she stayed with Epstein for so long and was so convinced he was going to marry her, because she's all about the thing that's just out of reach, not actually catching it. So I think if she had actually gotten Jeffrey Epstein, she would have lost interest and gotten bored and divorced him in 6 months. So there's that. Now, here's what's interesting. We talk a lot about this in the blog post and or the podcast, whichever one you're going to. She's on a Saturn return right now. She has Saturn in Capricorn. So we talked a lot about Saturn in Capricorn. And I know we say, like, with Saturn in Capricorn, it should be the most positive expression of science, it's most powerful. But this is the thing. Any planet, just like Neptune and Pisces, in its own sign is going to be magnified. So on the one hand, yes, you can get the highest ideals and the highest expression of Saturn in Capricorn, and somebody who operates with a tremendous amount of integrity and ethical sense of ethics and all this sort of stuff in life. Or you can get the exact opposite. Somebody who's the exact antithesis of Saturn in Capricorn, completely irresponsible, callous, stingy, mean-spirited. It's all about them, very selfish, self-oriented, self-serving. With her going through a Saturn return at the time of this arrest, she's going through, this is one of the few times in life I'm ever going to use the word karma. She's literally going through a karmic penance right now. So she's under a major karmic test as we speak. And remember, I said Saturn has backed up into Capricorn for the next couple of months before it finally and officially leaves for the next 29 years. So, Saturn doing this is giving us all a second chance to do it right this time. So for people who need an opportunity to go back and fix things or do it better or do it right, to get it done right, this is what's happening right now. And she got arrested under a Saturn return, this final Saturn passage in Capricorn. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. So that's going to be the beginning. It's super crazy hot here. I'm so sorry. I've got a lot going on. Literally, I've got more stuff going on in the Three Ring Circus, and I'm not at my best. And current events is not helping. I'm trying. Bear with me. I'm trying to give you guys something to work with here. That's not more gloom and doom, right? Now, the next report I will be putting up will be for Roger Stone, and he's another interesting character as well. He's a greaseball, but he's an interesting character. And some of the things that we see with him will also surprise you. Now, the thing with Roger Stone, I'm going to say just very quickly, is Roger Stone is an Aries rising. Now, we don't have a birth time for him. This is all rectified, but I would bet you my entire astrology collection that man is Aries rising. It's with him, it's particularly difficult because if you just you can't go by physical appearance alone to rectify an ascendant, because if you look at him, he's a classic example, right? So on the one hand, he's very long and lean and kind of funny built, right, which could make him Aquarius rising, or he's got that Cancer face and mouth and body, right? So he's actually, if you look at him, it's kind of wide through the middle. And he's got like this weird Cancerian mouth where the teeth look like they're too big for the mouth. I know what I'm looking at. It's hard to describe. And then maybe, right, he could be Virgo rising because he's very fastidious in his appearance, right? Or he could be Leo rising because he's so flamboyant. Like and he could be Sag rising because he's got that long, loping kind of Sag walk. I mean, there's a number of possibilities. And he certainly could be Cancer rising because that would make his chart really Uranus in Cancer. And he's definitely like, he's a wackadoodle. Or at least that's the way he presents himself. So there are a number of different things he could be in terms of his ascendant. But I'm telling you, he's Aries rising because more than physical appearance, you also have to look at the events in life and the timing of it. And the marriage partner will often tell you a lot about what the ascendant is. So look at the 7th house here, the first is. And interesting sidebar, one of the things with Aries rising, there's a couple different things that show up with Aries rising. Not all at once, it's one or the other, or a couple of little hallmarks in the physical appearance. One of the things that we expect to see with an Aries rising is a very Martian face, which is kind of like a hawk-ish face, right? Because it's Mars, very militant. So with Aries rising, the head becomes prominent, and we can expect either these really sharp, like devil point eyebrows, or this hawkish nose and face. And if you look at Roger Stone, he's got this, he literally looks like he's got a hatchet face. And look again, his head is shaped like a giant ostrich egg. I've never seen anything like it in my life. What is that about? Anyway, so the events actually is what helped determine his time of birth, but that's an Aries rising, as far as I'm concerned. So we've got more stuff coming up. I just wanted to share that with you. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the thing below, or drop by the blog and leave me a written comment for stuff specific to the blog post. Or if you want, you can go right to the podcast and leave a voicemail. So hope you guys are doing well, and we'll talk to you soon.